Welcome back to the land of SEC bias.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. We're bouncing all around today. I like TCU, but I would like them more if something else had happened this offseason. And maybe I overvalued Cal. Maybe. You'll get record predictions for those teams on today's show as we continue to build towards the season, and a big marker mentally for everybody of how close college football is. Preseason polls are out and about. Oh boy. Okay, so the preseason coaches poll came out. Do coaches follow the offseason? I'm actually wondering. I know some people wonder that about me sometimes, but contrary to what a few detractors might say, I talk about the sport year-round. So yeah, I do follow the offseason quite closely, as a matter of fact. Coaches, on the other hand, not so much, and they just voted brands. I want to make something clear off the top before I rip into the really back-end SEC bias that's here. I don't have a huge problem with Texas being number one. I would pick Clemson. Clemson at 6 is a little bit too low here in the good old coaches poll. But Texas and Georgia being in the top 5, Bama and LSU at 8 and 9, no problems there, okay? 4 SEC teams in the top 10. I'm not going to sit here and object to that. Here's what I am going to object to, and this is going to be used, and because the coaches poll and the AP poll have differed before, they will differ again. There are not usually Grand Canyon-sized differences, but the SEC hardcore apologists out there are going to use these sorts of preseason metrics as, well, look at who this team had to play. Well, look at who this team had to play. Can anyone explain to me with any solid amount of logic why Tennessee should be a preseason top 20 team? Can you give me the program in any other conference that could get its doors blown off in the playoff, lose its starting quarterback and several key pieces from last year? It doesn't mean they aren't a respectable team. But is there a team in another conference that can do all of these things and then go to a quarterback who was probably going to start at UCLA where he was going to get no attention? I'm not saying Joey Aguilar can't be a solid quarterback. He could be. I've never seen him play a single snap of SEC football, so I'm not going to give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt that their quarterback situation is better. Nico wasn't perfect. Nico was also pretty good in a lot of spots. Not great, which is why I'm down on UCLA. But they were pretty good last year with Nico a quarterback. Pretty darn good. Are you telling me that's suddenly going to be an upgrade? And Tennessee's worthy of being number 18 in the country? Why? The fact that SMU is 2 whole spots ahead of Tennessee is crazy. SMU also got blown out in the first round of the college football playoff on the road against a Big Ten team, who is a preseason top 5 team this year. The difference is that Kevin Jennings would be the starting quarterback at Tennessee in about 2 seconds, maybe less. And SMU's team this year, I think, is closer. I do think SMU takes a step back. I have no problem with him being there at number 16. But the inconsistency here is where I don't really understand. You're putting those 2 teams in the same category with those quarterback situations, most important position on the field. I hope we can all agree on that. I have a problem with that. Florida last year got hot at the end of the season. Okay, so you're a believer. I'm not. I understand how you can be. I, as I discussed yesterday, am not a believer in Billy Napier. I don't think that he is long for Gainesville, and I don't think he can achieve great things as Florida's head coach. He did have a good second half of last season that proved myself and others wrong about what they would be in that particular year. But you have injury questions at quarterback where DJ Lagway returns to practice, and that was what I talked about yesterday on the show because, well, that's pretty notable that your starting quarterback that everyone's relying on to be a potential Heisman candidate and who was 6-1 as a starter last year, he's in and out. But okay, maybe you want to presume the best. Maybe you don't want to base things off of an injury. I'm not going to have the Jordan Travis conversation here, though I did support FSU being left out of the playoff. But Florida being in there with a red-hot second half. Okay, if you're all about the red-hot second halves of last season, and we just ignore the first half of the season, because that doesn't count. You know, sure, the same coaching staff that you're putting faith in now didn't think DJ Lagway should have been the starter last year, and Graham Mertz had to get hurt in order for him to start. But you know what? Let's just overlook that fact. Shall we? Apparently we're going to. If you're all about, well, they were hot at the second half of they're carrying momentum into this year. Do you know who won 6 straight games in the regular season at the end of last year? Baylor, who also brings their quarterback back, who also didn't start him at the beginning of the year and then figured it out. I'm not saying that Baylor should be a top 20 team. I wouldn't put them in the top 20. But how then does BYU wind up at number 23, Texas Tech at number 24, just an abomination across the board? I mean, the disrespect to my Red Raiders is just awful, completely awful. But if you're picking Florida there, mostly on the second half of last year, why would you be picking BYU over Baylor? Not consistent. Not consistent in any way, shape, or form. So those are my biggest objections. I actually appreciated that South Carolina's as high as they are at 13. I appreciated that Illinois is as high as they are at 12. That Arizona State is as high as they are at 11. I thought Miami was overvalued there at number 10. But the Florida-Tennessee inclusion in not just in the top 25, but inside the top 20. Why? Explain that to me. Explain that. You can't do that. And then putting BYU in there when the Cougars lost their quarterback. I watched Jake Retzloff a lot last year. I wasn't that high on him coming into the year. Didn't have big expectations. He started playing some good ball, some timely, clutch, magical ball for the Cougars. And BYU fans and I had a good little arrangement going where I was essentially directly responsible for BYU's success last year. If you take him out of the equation, you're just assuming someone can just step in who you've never seen play before? Again, it's not that these things can't change as the season progresses, but if you're trying to assess who should be given benefit of the doubt or more respect on paper coming into the year, those 3 teams, Florida, Tennessee, BYU, I find to be highly objectionable. Highly objectionable. Also, oh my gosh, the worst part, I would have gone pretty insane. Pretty insane if oh man. It's not like they were close, just to be clear. Who voted for Florida State? Oh my gosh. Look, maybe Florida State belongs in the SEC because someone was willing to vote for them. Look, they had 8 points in there. It was not close. Missouri and Oklahoma just missed being in there at 142 and 221. But somebody thought Florida State after last year. Come on. That's SEC treatment right there, if I've ever seen it. But you know what? In fairness to the coaches poll here, Oklahoma did not make it. And guess what? Even though I like Oklahoma, I might even rank Oklahoma in a preseason top 25. I respect that they didn't. But why is the Sooners coming down? Why are the Sooners coming into a category of, it seems, well, you got to prove it a little bit, but Florida and Tennessee are not? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So hopefully the AP poll is better. And then we can use that to evaluate quality wins throughout the year. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, all of that good stuff. We're going to the Big 12. We're also going to get to the ACC. I'm this close to loving TCU. First, this episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is way more than just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Do you have that one financial goal you've been trying to reach for a while? Maybe it's a certain amount of savings, a threshold that you've wanted to hit, but you just haven't quite been able to get there. Monarch is here to help you achieve it. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Check them out at monarchmoney.com. I want to be able to look at TCU and say, look at that. It's a Big 12 title contender. Don't remember. No. Let's start that over. Don't forget. Definitely remember, TCU is the last Big 12 team to make the national championship game. That magical run with Max Duggan and Quentin Johnston back when he could actually catch footballs, that was quite the season. And it was TCU that was there. And since then, not as good. But very quietly, TCU was a 9-game winner last year. They went 6-3 in the Big 12. This is a team that absolutely has the ability to get to the Big 12 championship game. It won't shock me if they're there. It won't shock me whatsoever because the Horned Frogs have a staff who I do believe in because I've seen them win. Sonny Dykes is a good coach. Andy Avalos came in as the defensive coordinator. More on him in just a moment. He did make them better statistically, but more steps still need to be taken. You've got a quarterback who might be my favorite in the Big 12. And frankly, Josh Hoover is the biggest reason why I want to be bullish on TCU. I want to be the guy going out there saying, you know what? TCU is going to make the Big 12 championship game. And for those of you on YouTube, you can see these are my preseason Big 12 power rankings. I have TCU at number 7, one slot behind Utah at number 6. I believe anyone in the top 7 can make the Big 12 championship game. Maybe Kansas at 9 can sneak in there, but they scarred me too hard last year. So I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole once again just yet. So I do think TCU can get there because they had a bounce back season after that 5-7 year off the national runner-up season. It was, a big letdown. A big letdown for the Horned Frogs, or at least a big step back to go from national championship game to getting blown out, 5-7. Yeah, that's not exactly how they drew it up. The reason I don't love TCU, I have questions about what the talent is on the defensive side of the ball. They did not bring in some gangbusters transfer portal class to radically alter what they're doing on that side. Andy Avalos, the defensive coordinator, former Boise State head coach and Oregon defensive coordinator before that, he's going to have to just be better schematically and get his guys more prepared to go on game days. Because in TCU's 4 losses last year, here are the number of points they allowed in those games. They averaged around 25 per game allowed on the season. In their 4 losses, they allowed 35, 66, 30, and 37. They gave up 160 yards per game on the ground. That has to change completely. You need to get under 120 rushing yards per game minimum to take a sizable step forward. And you can't go out and in your losses look back and go, well, the offense scored a lot of points, but the defense gave up on average. I didn't average those 4 numbers together, admittedly, but 35, 66, 30, and 37? I mean, oh boy. Those are just way too big of numbers. Now, the encouraging thing for TCU is they do have Josh Hoover back, who reportedly had some offers or interest to go to the SEC. There was that brief moment in time, understandably, where Tennessee lost Nico and wanted to go get Josh Hoover. But again, Tennessee will still be a top 25 team, even though they were trying to get somebody else at quarterback than the guy they have. Anyway, I'll just throw that out there, going back to the first segment on today's show. Hoover's a guy I really like. Almost 4,000 yards last year. Needs to cut down on the turnovers. 11 interceptions is too many. Would like to see that down in the 6 to 8 range. But this is a guy who can spin it, can make every throw on the field, has got a really good arm. I like Josh Hoover a lot. He might be my favorite quarterback in the Big 12. I'd have to put some hardcore thought into it. I don't know if I can come up with a guy in the league, even though there's some really good ones, who's legitimately just straight up better that I'd rather have. So that's a good starting point. A staff that I think is good, but definitely has a question mark on the defensive side of the ball, and a quarterback that I really like. Now, they returned 3 offensive linemen. That's good. They don't return a lot else on the offensive side of the ball. So they're replacing a lot from a season ago. I don't love that. I don't love that they didn't go out and have a Texas Tech type of offseason. Do they have the funds to do it? Probably not. Cody Campbell's certainly a valuable guy that not everyone has access to at their university when going and seeking to make the best offseason acquisitions that they can. But TCU's transfer portal class ranks 53rd nationally. Their last 3 recruiting classes have been in the top 25 to 40 range. So you should have some solid talent on that side of the ball. But do you have defensive game records? That's what I'm wondering. Is your scheme just going to be so good that your defense goes out and produces at a higher level? That's what I'm wondering. That's what I need. But in the offseason right now, until the TCU defense shows me they can really go out and play at a significantly higher level, especially in big games, I can't pick them to go to the Big 12 championship game. I am taking them to go over their win total of 6.5, which I think is I think that's way too low, and rooted in respect for their first game on the road at North Carolina, which I think they're going to win comfortably over Bill Belichick. Abilene Christian, ask Texas Tech how much you should sleep on Abilene Christian there. They slept on them a little bit last year, and it didn't go particularly well. But SMU's a game where they gave up 66 points, a season high last year. That's their 3rd game. I think that's a 3-0 start. I think TCU should be in the top 25 after their non-conference slate where they play a pair of ACC teams, one of which on the road. Then they go at the reigning Big 12 champs, Arizona State. I think that's a loss. Colorado, I think, is a win at Kansas State, who I think makes the Big 12 championship game this year. I think that is a loss for TCU. This is where it gets dicey. This is where I am putting some serious, legitimate faith in the TCU staff, and I'm not going to be surprised if I'm wrong here. Okay? My surprise loss for TCU this year is at BYU, a team who, as you heard earlier on today's show, if you were listening or watching, and I appreciate you doing that, by the way, I'm not particularly bullish on without Jake Retzloff there at quarterback, because I don't know, really. No one truly knows what you're going to be able to get from the quarterback position at BYU. Lavelle Edwards Stadium is always rocking, is always a tough place to play. That feels like a crazy Big 12 upset potential to me. But before that, I'm putting TCU down for 3 straight wins. Baylor, at West Virginia, Iowa State. The home road splits here are massive. To have 2 Big 12 title contenders coming to your campus and going to a first-year head coach in a West Virginia program that is resetting right now is significantly better than having West Virginia come home and you got to go on the road either to Baylor or Iowa State. I would pick them to lose one of those games. They still could. They still could. Those are the moments where the defense, by the middle to the latter part of the season, has got to be playing better football. I think they close with a couple wins at Houston and Cincinnati. Between Houston and BYU, I almost went Houston. I flipped a coin and landed on BYU. I think that's just going to be a split because I think Houston is a program on the rise. At BYU, things can get crazy. One of those road games, I think TCU's defense might not be quite enough, but that's what it's going to come down to here. I don't have questions about the offense. So I'm sitting here at 9-3. At some point, I might adjust this down to 8-4. I think they go over 6.5. I do. But I really want to like TCU. I do, because I am a big time Josh Hoover fan. I just need to see that defense. That defense in the first few weeks is going to show me a lot about whether or not I was right to pick the Horned Frogs to be good or not. At North Carolina, Abilene Christian, who put up 51 points in Lubbock, Texas against the Red Raiders last year, and at home against SMU. If you can give up an average of 25 points per game in those 3 contests, you're doing something right. But if it's in the 35 to 40 point range, again, that's not going to cut it. So I'm a TCU guy, tentatively. Not Big 12 title. In the discussion, don't think they quite get there. Just got to have that Texas Tech style offseason for me to like you, apparently. Speaking of the opposite of a Texas Tech style offseason, let's go to the ACC. First, this episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, both are acceptable. This one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course and off of it too, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. 5 Hour Energy is there to help you with that. Golf is all about good times with good people, and you want to make sure you've got the right amount of energy. This is where 5 Hour Energy comes in. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's 5 Hour Energy with the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, which, by the way, is a great idea. I do it all the time. I've never regretted it. And if you need a little extra boost to get you there, 5 Hour Energy is what you need. Get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. If you listen to or watch the show every day, you might think I only pick overs. Wrong you would be. You'd be so very, very wrong. I'm not just telling people what they want to hear and saying, you're going to go over your win total. It's going to be great. Nope. Some teams are going to really stink this year. Look, I'm a long time, shall we say, follower. I don't think admirer is the right word, of Justin Wilcox and his tenure with the California Golden Bears. There have been flashes of really good ball, and then there have been losses to Florida State and Colorado in the last couple of years. So those things have all transpired, and it's hard to trust that Justin Wilcox will do anything beyond what he's done already. It's also hard to trust that he'll be worse than what he's done already. Because when you go look at the guy's track record, conference slate is not a great thing to look at. Overall record, though, pretty solid. Pretty darn solid. Not great, but definitely not terrible. He just finds a way to be around 500. Their win total's 5.5. I'm taking them under this year. There's a lot of turnover. And for my YouTube audience, I'll throw up my preseason ACC power rankings. I have Cal at 10. It's possible I have them too high. It's possible that they should be down in the 12, 13, or some people maybe even have in the 15 range. I'm not in that camp personally because though it has been a challenging offseason, I don't think Brian Harsin's the worst offensive coordinator you could have possibly hired. They're probably starting Devin Brown at quarterback, the Ohio State transfer, former blue chip recruit. What can they get out of him? I don't know. They got a lot out of Fernando Mendoza. Did you know who that was? He's Indiana's quarterback now. And a lot of people talk about him as how great he can be and such. And, well, there's been a lot of chaos in the quarterback room for Cal in the last few years. Can Devin Brown stabilize it? We'll see. But let's not pretend like Mendoza was some world-beating recruit. Brown's got more arm talent on paper. He just doesn't have the experience yet. So that's why game one, new system, a lot of new pieces here. Every running back that has ever played for the history. Marshawn Lynch hit the transfer portal this offseason from the Bears, okay? That's how dramatic their losses at running back were at one point in time. They backfilled, but they don't have Jaden Ott anymore, who was the driving force of their offense the last couple of years. So figuring out with a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback, and no Jaden Ott, I'm not taking you to win on the road week one at, wait for it, can my Pac-12 fans please stand up, Oregon State. Yeah, the Beavs are favored in this game, by the way. They should be. It's game one at Reser. What a phenomenal game one for the Beavs in a season that, as I talked about last week on the show with Oregon State, is potentially, hopefully, for those in Corvallis, a setup year for a playoff caliber season come 2026. But I've got a quarterback I trust in Malik Murphy, a coach that I kind of like in Trent Bray, TBD. But I've got a home field advantage. Week one, I take continuity over new every time in week one, and I'm taking Oregon State to win that game. Then they play Texas Southern. That'll be a win. Then their first real home game in Berkeley is against Minnesota. And you know what? It's easy to dunk on Minnesota from time to time. PJ Fleck is solid. And I'm going with the Golden Gophers here. I don't know. This will be a really ugly game. This is going to be like 18-16. Okay, someone's going to win that game. This feels like the annual tradition we've got at this point, frankly, where Cal misses a field goal to win a game, and then you look back and go, wow, if that field goal got in, things would have been really different. So I'll take it to be the Minnesota game. At San Diego State, I think the Aztecs are improved as a Mountain West team. Cal's got more talent on the field, even with all the transfer portal turnover. They've got a lot of guys coming in. They got a lot of guys go out. I think they'll beat San Diego State. At Boston College, here's my rule with the ACC, and frankly, for the Big Ten as well. If you are making a trip to the other side of the country, you have to give me an insanely compelling reason as to why you're way better than that other team. Because teams that are traveling 2 and 3 time zones in these new super conferences, they just haven't been performing very well. So I'll take Boston College, who I don't have power rated super high in the ACC coming into this season. I've got them down at 12, a couple spots below Cal, but cross-country trip with true home field advantage for the Eagles, I'll give Bill O'Brien that one. Duke at home, this is an example of what I'm talking about, okay? Duke, quietly, was a real good team last year under Manny Diaz. They might have upgraded. They feel they upgraded at quarterback from Malik Murphy, who I really like, to Darian Mensah coming over from Tulane. Duke was a better team last year. They should be a better team this year than Cal across the board. So I do think they can go to Berkeley and win that game. Now, the next week, though, I have Cal with a bounce back because North Carolina's coming to Berkeley. And guess what? I do not like North Carolina. I am fading them all the way. Another under bet for the Power 4 teams I've talked about. Well, I've done G5 teams as well. So North Carolina is the first one I did because it's my favorite under. They are 7.5. I think that's dramatically overvalued. I am down on North Carolina, so I'll take Cal to win. I'll take Cal to lose at Virginia Tech, but beat Virginia at home. Lose at Louisville, who's a much better team. Win at Stanford because the Cardinal are in chaos. And then lose to SMU because that's just a significantly better football team at the moment with a quarterback who I trust a lot more. But who will Cal's quarterback be by game 12 against SMU? I don't really know. I mean, it's been a wild ride for the Bears at quarterback the last couple of years. Hopefully they have some consistency in Devin Brown. But I'm landing 5-7. And look, would it shock me if they made a bowl game and went 6-6 again? No, it wouldn't. This is just what Justin Wilcox does. No matter the circumstance, he figures out a way to hang around bowl eligibility, to fight to be kind of interesting, sort of, but not really, fighting and scrapping and clawing to get out of the middle of the conference. I don't think a year where they've been decimated by the portal and have so many new things, and Ron Rivera's new in there as GM, and what does that mean for the urgency that Justin Wilcox coaches with, or the pressure? Does that affect any decisions he makes? I don't know. I don't know how all that's working. I have a lot of questions about Cal. It's why I don't have them higher in my power rankings. It's why I'm taking them to miss a bowl game this year. Does it result in Justin Wilcox's firing? Probably not, because at this point, 5-7, almost made a bowl game. I mean, I could see him doing it. If I were the athletic director, I could get behind it. But that decision comes down to Ron Rivera now, the general manager who's really running the program. So fascinated to see how it all plays out. But I've got Cal sitting there 5-7, missing a bowl game. Just the way I see it. I call it how I see it, like an umpire, but a good one, like automated balls and strikes. Can't wait for ABS in Major League Baseball. Let's end with that on a college football show. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.